Hey guys, we are, okay, try another way of live going during your broadcast. I don't know. Anyway, hey guys, thank you so much for tuning in. We, of course, are tracking Henri. We are back here in studio. I wanted to bring you the latest because it is constantly changing. I don't know if you can see my screen over here. This is what we're going to be referring to. So let me just turn this just a little bit so you get a better view of it. As you can see, we are now under a hurricane warning for the highlighted areas. So that includes Suffolk County, Long Island, and also along the I-95 corridor here from New Haven to Middlesex to New London. So looks like the major impacts will still be Eastern Long Island as well as New England. And let me tell you, this has been constantly changing. With every update, there's always a little bit of shift. It's a wobble to the right, a wobble to the left. So we're going to just take you through this. Now, hurricane warning means that hurricane-like conditions are expected within 36 hours, and that is what we're going to be expecting within the highlighted areas that you see here. And that's late tonight into Monday morning. But these conditions, the wind gusts will continue right through even Tuesday morning is what we're seeing right now. Now, tropical storm warnings, that's also been issued, as you can see, highlighted in this like pinkish color here. So it includes Fairfield County, Westchester County, as well as Bergen in New Jersey, down in toward Hudson, Essex, as well as Union, down into Monmouth counties, okay? So, and that, yes, it does include the 5 boroughs. I know I've been getting a lot of questions about New York City. So New York City is included within the tropical storm warning zone, as well as parts of Nassau County, as you can see here. Nassau County, interestingly enough, there's a little bit of a split. This is what is Route 110. So it's just to the right of there, you got that hurricane warning that's in play. To the left of there, you have the tropical storm warning that's in play. And as with the hurricane warning, tropical storm warning conditions are expected within the next 36 hours. So that is why that is there. And that is what the National Weather Service put out. So the National Hurricane Center does issue updates every few hours. The latest one happened at around 5 o'clock. Sometimes they send it out a little earlier. So that's what we're going with right now. A big concern. This is like life-threatening, and I'm not like just saying it just to say it. This is like a life-threatening kind of situation that we're dealing with. So the potential for storm surge is there. So you'll have a lot of water being pushed on land. And you also have to consider there is a full moon tomorrow, which kind of exacerbates the situation in even more dangerous conditions. So if you notice here, New York City, 2 to 4 feet is expected, and this is a general range. Long Island, points east, up to about 5 feet is expected. And look at this here, the orange, the yellows, these brighter colors, that is where we'll see that bigger impact or the bigger concern for inundation right there, because you have all this water being funneled, you know, through this little small area, and it's going to push all of that water onto land. So that's why we anticipate up to about 5 feet. And also take into account there is a full moon. So during times of high tides, you usually get the potential for flooding, but you throw on top of that the storm surge concern. Yeah, do the math, right? Jersey Shore, 1 to 3 feet, that is quite possible. That's what we're seeing here. And this is as a result of Henri. We have the storm surge potential. That's a huge concern. You also have a lot of rain in a short amount of time. So, and then you have the rain totals. So that's something that we've been watching as well. And of course, strong winds, damaging winds. Okay, flood watch, that's in effect right through Monday morning, but the potential continues right through Tuesday morning. We can have some flash flooding as well, because not only does the rain begin late tonight and carry on through tomorrow, there will be some rain on Monday. Can't rule out thunderstorms as well. So we anticipate about 3 to 6 inches with locally higher amounts. So we're talking about a lot of rain here from Henri. So flash flood watch, all in the shaded green areas that you see here. That includes the entire tri-state pretty much. And during times of high tides, especially, as I mentioned, storm surge a concern. You got the high tide cycle, it's a full moon, that gravitational pull will be strong. So these are the times for high tides, and these are also around the times where we're going to be picking up those real strong, those damaging winds. So the Battery just after 10 p.m. tomorrow, just before 9 p.m. at Coney Island, Jones Beach 10 o'clock tomorrow. So these are times just to coincide with your location, so pay close attention to that. If you're in Sandy Hook, New Jersey, or near that location, just before 9 p.m. Point Pleasant 8:30, Bridgeport, Connecticut 10. There are also high tides for some of these locations in the morning, but that's not where we're seeing the strongest winds. But there's also potential for flooding at those times as well during the earlier mornings. But this is the greatest impact that we're expecting, so I just wanted to highlight that for you. Now let's take a look at what is now Hurricane Henri. Did make hurricane status earlier today, and as you can see, it actually took on like an oblong shape. It looked a little bit disorganized, like it was trying to get its act together, but it looks like now it's getting a better hold on things. We do have a little bit of a trough. We have a little disturbance here, so it's kind of pulling in some of that moisture. We're noticing it's becoming a little bit better organized. You can pick up the center or just around here. It's the eye is actually a little bit more defined than what I was seeing earlier. So strong convection here. It looks like there's some dry air trying to erode the system here, but that is just temporary, because I think because the waters are so warm, you know, figure we got 80-degree water temperatures, 80+ degrees. So that is like bath water. That is like soup. It adds fuel to this type of system. But then you throw on top of that, we're also paying close attention to the wind shear, right? Wind shear is the change in speed and direction with height. It looked like it was actually increasing. The last I checked, it kind of went up to about 17 knots or something like that. So we anticipate that's actually going to be reduced, which will aid in further strengthening. So although Henri will exit the Gulf Stream and enter into cooler waters overnight, the wind shear may make it conducive for it to continue to stay together, right? So that's something that we're closely watching. Here's a look at the current situation. 75-mile-per-hour maximum sustained winds. We anticipate there may be a little bit more of a strengthening during the overnight period. It's around 1 or maybe even 2 o'clock, but right now it's pretty much status quo at 75. It actually increased in forward speed. It was at 17 miles per hour, but now it's moving north-northeast at 18 miles per hour. It's 240 miles east-northeast of Cape Hatteras in North Carolina. So again, the location almost the same, but it's picked up in speed a little bit. The current sustained winds are also the same. But here's a closer look. I wanted to zoom in on this, right, and give you a closer look. You know, this is important. Closer look at the track. Now the track shows that it's a Cat 1. We know that, right? As it continues to move over these cooler waters, right around here, we're in the 70s, right? So there may be a little bit, you know, we're like thinking, okay, it may like kind of weaken just a little bit, but during the overnight period, we're anticipating maximum sustained winds of 80 miles per hour still, right? So it does have the potential to make a landfall. Now it has shifted. Remember I said it wobbles to the east, wobbles to the west. It's like wobbling all over the place. So that's why it's so important to be on top of the forecast, to know which direction it's headed, because it's constantly changing. You have that trough to the west, it's kind of steering it, and then you have a high pressure system that's off into the ocean that's also kind of helping to steer this thing along. And we also have a high to the north, right? So here's the deal. Could make landfall as a hurricane, you know, if it does increase to 80 miles per hour, there is a good chance that Henri will make landfall as a Cat 1. Remember, the last time there was a hurricane that made landfall in New York was Gloria. That was in '85. So we're paying close attention to that, right? Could make landfall anywhere within this cone of uncertainty. That's what that is. Okay, this line is where the impacts may be directly. The landfall could be southern New England, but it could also be further west Long Island or even further east, right? So that's why we have that there. And again, this is constantly changing. So whether it makes landfall as a strong tropical storm or a Category 1 hurricane, the impacts will be felt. It will be significant. Can we turn this off, Chris? Chris is my weather producer here. I'm just seeing flashing lights going on over here. Do you mind? Can we turn it off? Is it possible? I don't want to distract anybody. If not, it's okay. Hey, we're live on Facebook. Anything can happen, right?
I don't know where the remote is.
It's okay. Sorry, guys. All right, so again, no laughing matter here, though. We are taking a look at Henri. We're paying close attention to it. As it does make landfall, remember, it'll be interacting with land, right? So when that happens, the friction aids in further weakening, and in the coming days it'll become post-tropical, right? So that's something that we're going to continue to watch. So again, it could make landfall as a strong tropical storm, depending on how things go, or a Category 1, the potential is there, and then it'll continue to weaken. But we're looking at, again, the potential for a lot of rain, strong winds, and storm surge. Those are the concerns, right? So here's a look at the European model. I usually, go with one particular model that's kind of coinciding to what I'm thinking the forecast will be, but in this case, there's just so many changes with this. So I wanted to point your attention to the European model, and as it stands right now, it kind of coincides with the current track, right? We were looking at the potential for the heaviest rain to be on the west side of the storm. Since it's kind of shifted though, and the landfall will be somewhere around here, it's still on the west side where we're seeing the higher amounts. But if you look even further to the west, away from where the potential landfall mark is, there's still significant rain, but it's a little bit less. It's come down a little bit in terms of the amount, the rainfall amount. I was seeing higher totals in Morristown as well as Trenton when it was a little bit further west, right? Montgomery looks like we could see almost 4 inches of rain. So it's pretty much, I think, anywhere you slice it, we're dealing with significant rainfall, okay, in a short amount of time. So it's something that we're going to be looking at, and of course flooding resulting from that. Heavy banding is expected. It's just a matter of where the heavy banding will take place. If you're in coastal sections, like if you're in City Island, for instance, I mean, even if you get the lesser amount, it's still a big concern because, of course, the storm surge and the flooding that goes along with that. And here's a look at our NAM model. Now, again, higher amounts, as you notice now, eastern end of Long Island, Connecticut, and still significant here. So I think a general range, what we're expecting is 3 to 6 inches of rain across the area with locally higher amounts. Trenton, it looks like a little less, but again, I think this is just kind of like just a general consensus of what may happen. But again, I think we should all plan for significant rainfall no matter what area you're in, and significant impacts no matter what area you're in across the tri-state. And Trenton now, based on the RPM that we have here, it shows a completely different scenario. And I think the RPM is based off the previous run. So I wanted to show this to you because, as I mentioned, the track keeps shifting. Like it's like 1 minute to the west, covering more of the city and even parts of New Jersey. And in this case, it's shifted a little bit further here. So it looks like we're getting less of an impact in these locations and more of an impact a little bit further east. But again, this is the RPM. This was actually based off what we were seeing before, where the track was a little bit further west, which was like right around here, if you could see it right around here. But now it's a little bit further east over here, right? So that's where we're seeing the shift. So I think anyway you slice it, 3 to 6 inches of rain anticipated. Some areas locally will see higher amounts, some maybe a little less. It really does depend on where the heavy band set up and where the track ends up. So here's a look at our future cast. And as you can see today, we're looking at spotty showers. A lot of this in the beginning is more associated with that disturbance just to the south, and not necessarily from Henri, but late tonight into tomorrow is where we're going to really feel the impacts from Henri, including the rain and the heavy banding. So let me put this into motion. As you can see here, this is 10 p.m. right? So 10 p.m. we're still pretty dry, maybe a spotty shower here or there. And as we get closer, this is tomorrow morning at 6, some light showers moving in along the South Shore, a little bit more in the way of rain in comparison. And this is Henri. Of course, we're going to even push this further and look at how things change. Heavy downpours. This is tomorrow, 11 a.m. So you got those heavy downpours coming through, and then you have this is what I'm talking about, the heavy bands that sets up the banding. So right through the 5 boroughs, this is the Bronx, this is Brooklyn, this is Queens. Got some heavy rain rolling through the area, especially along the South Shore here. We have a little bit more of that intensity. And less so, more moderate in this area of New Jersey. So eastern Long Island, right in here is where we're seeing the heavy rain. Okay, and that's consistent with the current track right now, with the heaviest rain being on the west side. That track is a little bit further east, so the heaviest rain again is further west of the storm. So look at how it makes a turn. What's interesting with the track as well, it makes a little bit of a turn once it goes a little bit further inland after landfall. It makes a little bit of a turn west. So that is why the potential for the higher rain totals, that's why that's there as well. So it'll make a little bit of that westward turn, and we're seeing more impacts across the 5 boroughs, across the lower Hudson Valley, across eastern Long Island, along the I-95 corridor, and then it continues widespread right through tomorrow afternoon. And as it pulls away, yeah, we have those higher totals again. This is when we'll see a lot of rain shifting to the Hudson Valley and northern New Jersey, right? And that is why we have those totals there. Okay, of 3 to 6 with higher locally amounts. Okay, so this is Monday, where we still have those showers, not as intense, but still lingering, and it'll continue right through the day, and then it'll eventually taper off to Monday night into Tuesday. Tuesday, there may be even a sprinkle or two. Now, there's also been a shift with the wind field, which is interesting because it covered more of the New York metro area, but it looks like, again, it's shifted. So with that, it looks like less impacts here. We'll still have those gusty winds, no doubt, and the potential for downed trees, power lines, power outages, and everything. But points east will see the largest impacts in terms of those stronger winds. Tropical storm force winds expected, highlighted in yellow. And you have the hurricane force winds, not as much. Once it makes landfall, it's more of it weakens to a tropical storm eventually. And this is about 4 p.m. by the way, tomorrow. So those strong winds will start to pick up right there, eastern Long Island especially, as well as southern New England. So zooming on in, again, we'll still feel those wind gusts if you're in the New York tri-state area. If you're in the 5 boroughs, the Hudson Valley, there'll still be those winds that you have to contend with. And here's a closer look at that. So we're in the 30s. This is tomorrow morning, so 34 miles per hour. I hope this is like not backwards. Sorry, guys. Trying to deal with this the best we could, because we can't go on live Facebook because of the game, obviously. So we'll be on live a little bit later on this evening. So Montauk, 50 mile per hour wind gusts. Check that out. Oh my goodness. And that's where you can really, really feel the impacts. This is, again, Sunday morning, 9 a.m. 46 mile per hour winds at that time in Bridgeport. 44 mile an hour winds in Islip. Those winds will be gusting, especially on the east side. And as far as storm surge, it looks like the largest impacts will be, again, on the east side of the storm, especially throughout the Long Island Sound. So we're picking up the concern really there. Power outage is also a big concern, as you can see. It looks to be greatest potential, again, as I push this into motion. I don't know if you can see the difference in the colors, but especially across Suffolk, parts of Nassau, Bridgeport, Connecticut, And the risk is throughout New Jersey. It's at a lower risk, but the risk is still there based on how those winds are really picking up, right? So it's something that we're going to continue to closely watch. And of course, the concerns are there. Heavy rain, high risk, power outages, all high risk, flooding, gusty winds, lightning, and we cannot rule out the potential for tornadoes. In response to Fred, right? There were actual tornado warnings. I think a confirmed tornado in Rockaway, New Jersey. So spin-ups are quite possible. It's something we're also going to pay close attention to, especially with the conditions changing every moment pretty much throughout the day. So if you haven't done so already, try making those last minute preps. They're pretty simple. These are things that you can actually do now if you haven't done so already. So if you can make a quick run, a mad dash to the store, you know, make sure you have enough water. A gallon per person per day is usually a great rule of thumb to go by. You can always boil water. When I was little, my parents used to always boil water, make sure we have enough in case if we have to, you know, do whatever, you know, washing dishes and things like that, if for some reason you can't, or you want something to drink and you want you know, clean water and something that is readily available. So storm arrives tomorrow morning, Sunday morning, right through the afternoon, and then the rain does continue through Monday and possibly even Tuesday, some lingering early morning showers before clearing out. 3 to 6 inches, locally higher amounts. Storm surge, again, a concern, 2 to 5 feet. Peak winds, 40 to 75 miles. Again, if you haven't done so already, get your emergency kit ready. Make sure you have enough batteries, a flashlight handy. You want to make sure you have non-perishable food items. In case if the power goes out, try to leave that refrigerator door closed. I always tell my kids that. Make sure you keep it closed. If it's a few hours, you should be okay. But if the power goes out for longer, which is what some of these companies are saying that it could, you then want to make preparations, maybe throw some things out, but or grab some ice and get a cooler and just put, you know, whatever items you need to try to make it last as long as possible. If you do have a generator, make sure it stays outside. Grilling should be done outside as well. If you have any loose furniture outdoors that you haven't brought in yet, do your best to grab them now because those winds are going to pick up. I know we have a trampoline at home. We did our best to secure it even more so. It's already secure, but we piled some bricks and stuff to keep it down. If you have like a basketball hoop or something, you want to bring that inside or weight it down as much as you can and just make those steps. Also grab a lot of if you're in a flood-prone area, you want to grab any sensitive documents, any important documents. You want to gather them up and make sure they're in a safe location in case if there's flooding. You want to just protect your items, your valuables as much as you can, because as we saw with Sandy, you know, things can happen, and you just want to be as prepared as possible. If you haven't done so already, make sure you turn on your notifications on your phone to make sure you're on top of everything. If you have a battery powered radio, that's not a bad idea. You want to get some fresh batteries in there. If for some reason you don't have the right sizing, you can always get like tin foil and like stick it in there, and although it may not last as long, at least you have something, right? So I hope this is useful to you in terms of keeping you well abreast of what's happening. We'll continue to update you on social. I'm on Twitter. That's where I do a lot of my weather updates. It's a little easier that way. Sometimes on Instagram, but it's not always as efficient. So if you do have Twitter, definitely hit me up there. And I'm of course here on Facebook. We are on after the game, so we'll have more updates for you concerning Henri. You be safe out there, and thank you so much for watching. I'm sorry if all these words are backwards. I don't know if it's going to come out that way. I hope it does shift. Sometimes that happens. Anywho, all right, so guys, I'll see you coming up later on. Kaidi will be here, and we will update you on the latest with Henri and everything that you need to know to get through the storm. All right, guys, bye.